Hey everybody, welcome back. Oh man, my camera's fuzzy. There we go. Today we're going to cover some news that you probably should have caught if you haven't already. It's about some more layoffs. None of it's good, and we're going to talk about probably the biggest story that I've been covering for a while is the Dutch government declares a state of emergency to stop farmer protest. Well, we're going to get into that and how it relates to Mao and his great leap forward. So we're in all these great things, the great reset, the great leap forward, there's two great leap forwards now because the Dutch government just came out with one. Nutty. First, let's talk about Walgreens. It expects to close 150 locations in the United States and 300 locations in the United Kingdom. This is par for the course for what they've been doing for a while. The pharmacy chain reported lower earnings on Tuesday compared to the same quarter last year, $118 million or 14 cents a share compared to $289 million at 33 cents a share a year ago. The company is facing muted consumer spending and pullback in demand for COVID vaccines. So they were making it on the COVID vaccine. Okay. Said the CEO said the company was increasing its cost savings effort to $4.1 billion. So, these guys they're taking some chips off the table. And this is a quote from him, taking immediate actions to optimize profitability for our U.S. healthcare segment. All right. The company will have saved $3.3 billion at this year end. Part of its cost-cutting effort, it has $800 million in 2024. These closures are part of its cost-cutting effort. The chain operates almost 9,000 stores in the United States and expects to close 150. Now, this is the last statement of the article. We'll talk about it in a minute. We're optimizing the model through our micro fulfillment centers, tech-enabled centralization of in-store activities and telepharmacy solutions. So did you catch all that? It sounds like they're taking some chips off the table. They're making a strategic move, just like me. I wanted to keep going in rental properties, but according to the economy, I just felt more comfortable by pulling that back, putting it into something a little more hard. Well, real property is pretty hard, but when you have people that might not be able to pay the rent because of soaring food prices, and this next article is going to have to do with food prices as well, because there's a war on food, guys. Take a break. Hey, mods, MNJ. Thanks, guys, for being here. This was kind of a spur of the minute live stream, but this is some pretty good stuff. Let me move on to the Dutch government. What the Dutch government is doing is mind-boggling to me. They're buying farms, and it's kind of a mandatory thing now, or it will be later. It's kind of like, you better take this offer. They're offering a little more than what they're worth, maybe what they say. But this is from The Hague. That would be the Dutch government, all right? And this has to do with the Dutch Minister for Climate and Energy. And he's saying the same exact things that Mao was saying in 1958. The Great Leap Forward. All these great things that are awful things. It's like every day's backwards day. On Thursday, the Dutch farmers decided to make their way to The Hague to protest regardless. So you're state of emergency be damned type situation. However, when tractors arrived, they were redirected to the parking lot by the police. So essentially, they were unable to protest. Last Tuesday, the Dutch Minister of Climate and Energy said that with the investment of 28 billion euros, there would be an 80 gigaton less CO2, and it would reduce global temperature by, here we go, this is the best part. It will reduce the global temperature by 0.0 .0032 Celsius. Can you believe these people? They don't know what's going on. They are making stuff up as they go. Now, this is a quote from the draconian man himself. I think he's possessed. We'll get to that in a minute. The Netherlands has for years missed its climate goals. Now it's time for a great leap forward. All right, you know who else said that? Mao said that in 1958. They came out with the Great Leap Forward. In China, the government murdered the farmers because, those evil farmers were making too much money or whatever. They needed grain, and they thought they knew better. They thought they knew better than the people that were already cultivating the food. So they said, you know what? We're going to send the peasants, and we're going to send these people creating our steel, and we're going to go over here and we're going to farm your land. And they put everybody in communes. And they had this great idea that you could dig like 3 or 4 foot down. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was way down. And put a bunch of fertilizer and a bunch of seeds. And then you would have this really thick crop that didn't need much land area. Well, of course it failed. The farmers would have known this. But, what do they know? They're dead. Anyway, they stole their land. They took all the metal in China and smelted it in their backyards while they weren't farming, because this is part of it. They're trying to get their material up, and it all failed. That's the moral of the story is this great stuff always fails. And every revolution coincides with soaring food prices. Let me get back to the Dutch government. He presented 120 different measures, which he said would make sure CO2 emissions in the Netherlands would be 55% lower than they were in 1990. Talk about goals. This guy's really goal-oriented. This would mean that each resident would have to contribute about 1,647 euros for a family of one person, and a family of 4 would have to contribute 6,588 euros. So we can get that temperature down globally. So they're going to pay more through taxes to do this, and they're also going to pay way more for food. And keep in mind, the Netherlands is the second largest exporter of agricultural goods on the planet. That's what these people do. They want to pass their farm down that they inherited from their great-great-great-grandfather to their kids. That's the kind of people that Mao killed, was the people that said, no, I'm not leaving. This is my family's, and this is the way it is. And they just just did away with it. A lot of them just ran off. Now, I want to introduce you to somebody called Dr. Moore. And hey, guys, thank you for being here. Hit the like button if you do. If you wouldn't mind. I'll get into the comments towards the end of the video, but I desire to give you the news first. Dr. Moore said carbon dioxide and temperature, this is good, guys, are actually slightly negatively correlated in the long historical record. In other words, it is not a cause and effect relationship. There is absolutely zero historical evidence that shows relationship between the level of CO2 in the atmosphere and the temperature of the Earth. None. Nada. The climate has changed long before humans could have anything to do with it, just like the big drought we had 1,200 years ago. Well, what happened 1,200 years ago? Oh, these people, they're swindlers. Now, he talks about nitrogen fertilizer. And keep in mind, these chemical fertilizers are how we feed the population. You get double the crop or possibly more when you use nitrogen fertilizer. And he's saying Sri Lanka banning nitrogen fertilizer, and the Netherlands now basically banning much of the nitrogen fertilizer. And this is the biggest threat we have right now to the immediate starvation situation in the world. They're going to use them as a petri dish. They always start on the little countries first, see how they're going to act. They got them real close, they can manage them, I guess. No, they're putting up a pretty good fight. Now, this is a quote from the doctor at the end of the article. When climate change first came up as an issue, I realized that we were being duped. And it was all about money. Isn't it always? Money and power. The powerful, he says elites, but I'm going to call them the few. They're not elite, self-appointed, like Schwab and down. They want to control the world. They want to control everyone. Now what do they want? They want fewer people. You guys agree with that? Hit the like button if you do. Because people need to know about this. People are just rolling through life, just doing their thing, not knowing that the food supply is supposed to get hammered. And we need to be getting ready now. As you're getting ready, and we're shipping coffee and everything else, the price of U.S. stamp raises 66 cents. The second hike this year and the fifth increase since 2019. When announced its intention to raise prices, the USPS cited raising operating expenses fueled by inflation and the impacts of a previously defective pricing model. So nothing has changed to the mail service cost. They say are needed to provide the Postal Service with much needed revenue. So they're starving for money. It looks like they're going to get it. Now, have you heard about the chickens? There's always noise. There's constant racket about how chickens in your backyard is bad, how the bird flu is here, and we've killed so many billion. It seems like there's a constant war on food. Well, this doesn't have to do with that, but it does have to do with America's largest poultry processor reintroducing antibiotics due to Biden's economy. So people are not willing. Most people are going to the great value section. They're not really going for the top shelf. Pay a little bit less for a little bit less quality. The United States' largest poultry processor is removing its antibiotics forever from the company's tagline and will reintroduce certain antibiotics to its products as a means to save money. So I guess they lose a lot of money by not using antibiotics. I guess they have a lot of animals die, a lot of chickens die, and it's a cost thing. Which processes around 1/5 of all the chicken in the United States. Initially pledged to remove antibiotics from its products in 2017, yet has reversed its decision because fewer people now want to buy meat that is more expensive. A large part thanks to Biden inflation. I can't say, guys, who knows? I don't know if Trump being in would have made inflation go away. He was pulling out the stimulus too. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying he's not the only one that's going to do it. I believe all politicians are going to print money. They're going to make inflation worse, which is all part of the Great Reset. There's so much news going on. I've been consuming it all day. And, France, what's going on over there is a war now. It's not a people rioting like they do in Chicago. They're literally, well, although that was pretty bad, they're burning the place down. It is nuts. The police officers are saying they're trying to hurt them. They're not, it's a war right now. And they've imported a lot of Muslims for cheap labor. So, what are we doing exactly? I'm looking for what's going on there right now to come here one day. Is that this year, next year? I don't know. Nobody knows. But just be prepared for that as much as possible. I think it's going to start spilling over into places that we wouldn't normally see it. Does that make sense? Maybe some small towns. Maybe some small town squares get looted. I know my mother's got a store in a small town square in Arkansas, and I think about it a lot, and it just seems like it's not too far fetched, you know. But this was a short live stream. I'm going to spend a little time in the comments, but that is the news and everything backwards. I agree. Millionaire restaurant tips. Everything seems backwards. It's like they do they make the wrong decision at every turn. Every time there's a decision to be made, it's the absolute wrong way. Every time. It's like it's a thing. It's like, how can we make this worse? Because the reset. Why would you reset something if it wasn't broke? You just let it keep going. They're not going to do that. I think the fires are part of it. I just can't see it any other way. Raw Food Writer thinks Trump would have made all the difference in inflation. Maybe so. Maybe so. People can stand to watch the news. Whoa. I don't know how people can stand to watch the news. I have yet to get it here from alternate sources per se. But if I want to watch the news, I couldn't. Too busy waging the war to stay afloat. Yeah, watching all the news is a real pain in the butt. It'll make you depressed. But you got to remember what we're after. And what we're after is awareness. That's the first step. I get comments every day. When are we going to do something about it? You're just talking about it. Stop talking and start doing type situation. Now is not the time to be running down the street with a pitchfork. I'm just telling you. Now's the time to help with the mainstream media being the way it is. Help get the word out. That's what I'm doing. We're just making sense. We're just here making sense of the news with the community. And you guys, I appreciate your comments, your opinions. That's the best part of it. M&J says all mainstream news will only give you what a handful of cabal-owned companies tell them to give you. That's true. They're owned. They are owned. That was my hope for Trump, that he was not owned and he was going to do what he wanted to. But man, did that wreck their playground. They were not having any part of it. Make pitchforks great again. That's pretty good. Guys, I'm going to have Crypto Charts Joe. Does anybody know Crypto Charts Joe? He's a really cool guy. He lives right here in Texas. And I'm going to be doing some silver and gold chart stuff with him and possibly Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's, I don't know if it's going to go for a rip immediately. It could go down first, but I think it's going to go. I'm still having a hard time buying it, though. I don't like the crypto stuff. But, that's, that could be, you don't know it's going to go up. You just don't know. Look at Dogcoin. How would you like to have, a couple $100 worth of that when it was zero and then it went to the moon? And then you could have turned that into silver and gold. I'm just saying it could be a way if you've got that gambling thing that I do. All right, guys, that's the news. Thank you for being here. If you like these live streams better than the regular videos, let me know. I appreciate your feedback. I really do. Have an awesome day. I'll see you in the next one. Later.